Vad roligt att just du har valt att lyssna på vår podd. Tillsammans kan vi skapa större möjligheter för förståelsen för integrativ medicin och hälsa. Är du intresserad av det så bli gärna medlem i vår förening och en del av vårt nätverk. Mer information om det här kommer i slutet av avsnittet, men du kan också redan nu hitta det på vår webbsida integrativ-medicin.se. Vi spelar in på Stockholms integrativmedicinska center i Sjöstaden i Stockholm och vid min sida Fredrik Ankarsköld, poddens producent som ännu inte provat ayurvedisk läkekonst. Dagens samtal kommer föras på engelska, so I want to start with to welcome you, Dr. Sangeeta Balaprakash.
Thank you, Lina, for having me.
Sangeeta, you are an Ayurvedic doctor, originally from Kerala.
Yeah.
You obtained the medical profession degree, B.A.M.S, Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery, which is a 6-year of professional education in the Govt Ayurveda College, Raipur.
Yeah, that's true.
Also not in Kerala. Is it in Kerala?
No, that's not in Kerala, but the central part of India.
Yeah. After that, you followed that by a panchakarma training.
Yes.
What is that?
Panchakarma is actually very integral to Ayurvedic treatment. It's a 5 different treatment procedure we do to detox the body and mind. So that after my graduation, I did a diploma in panchakarma, and that was from Kerala, Kattakkal Arya Vaidya Sala.
Yes, so that I wanted you to say the word for. Yeah.
So it's in Kerala, and it's a very old institution, and it had been a very big contribution to my education, working there and studying with the doctor who actually passed away recently when he turned 99.
Oh, 99.
So he was in his 70s, I guess, when I was with him. Yeah.
And you finished all this 1995?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
So I started my education already after my high school. So I was quite young. And actually most of the doctors in India, they study like that. Just after graduation, high school, we get into some of the universities, Ayurveda University, and we study Ayurveda. The graduation itself is 5.5 years. And then we do some internship in the hospitals, both the Western medicine and the Ayurvedic part. And that's the practical knowledge we gain during our education. Though the hospital duty starts already from 3rd year, where we work in the Ayurvedic hospitals, and we get the practical experience there. And internship is like you do part of this according to your interest in the Western medicine also, like the hospitals there, and to see how it works, parallel to your Ayurvedic background. And so my interest was mostly in women's education and women's health. So there I did my internship in the Western medicine also. I was most of the time in the gynecological and obstetrics department. So to gain some knowledge. Yeah. And then my focus while working in India was on the postnatal care, pregnancy care of women through Ayurveda, which I already had a little bit background knowledge on the Western medicine of, delivery and menopause, what you call menopausal issues, premenopause, postmenopause, and how we do take care of pregnant women and postnatal care in the Western medicine, but at the same time, how we can do it through Ayurveda. So that was some knowledge I gained during my studies.
And in India, do you choose between becoming a Western medicine doctor or an Ayurvedic doctor?
Yeah, the trend is, is mostly like if you want to become a doctor, which I wanted to. So there is a very hard, entrance criteria for that. It's you go through very exams and all. And my first choice was not Ayurveda, actually. It was Western medicine in gynecology. I wanted to,
become a gynecologist.
Exactly. And I didn't come through in there. And then I chose Ayurveda. And but I don't regret it today.
No?
Because at 18 you haven't learned much about life. So what attracts you is like this white coat with the stethoscope, and of course women's health was always very close to my heart, and I really wanted to do that. But later on, I when with age you gain more experience in life, and Ayurveda is all about life. So I definitely don't regret studying Ayurveda, and I feel very, very blessed with all the knowledge that I'm still a student. I gain every day. I learn new things every day.
Yes.
And it had been a very good journey until now.
Yeah, we're coming into Ayurveda because this podcast is going to be about an introduction about Ayurvedic medicine and knowledge. So maybe we can take it here. What does Ayurveda means? I mean, the word itself means wisdom of life. And you can actually, this is a Sanskrit word which you can split it into two. Ayu means life and Veda means wisdom or knowledge. So it's a wisdom of life. And life itself is like a union of body, mind, senses and soul. So all these are taken into consideration. So not just the physical body, but also mind, senses, and soul. And even senses are specially mentioned, and which actually holds a lot of importance when it comes to being sick or being healthy. What's the main role of these senses? So life, the knowledge of life is Ayurveda. So, I mean, that's what you can say in short. That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So, knowledge of life, Ayurveda knowledge of life. Could you say so?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah. Is I think, included, now, maybe this is a leading question, but is that included all nature, the planet, and kind of the system? You are right there. It's all manifestation on this planet. So all the manifestation that's living, and Ayurveda is concerned about that, because Ayurveda, the main foundation is on this one Sanskrit line. We say yatha pinde tatha brahmande, yatha brahmande tatha pinde. That means as is the cosmos, so are you. As you are, so is the cosmos. So the whole planet, our environment, has a big impact on our body and mind and our health. And we are nothing different from the nature. So what is there outside is inside you. And what's there in you is there outside you. So we are just one. So your health depends on your surroundings. So right. Whatever happens around you, whatever you take from outside, sensory inputs, food, everything, that's impacting your health also. So it's very, very important, like we take everything into considerations. That's why it's a very holistic medicine. And that's the uniqueness of Ayurveda. There are many alternative medicine now there. I mean, it's all good in its own, if you take it individually. But Ayurveda has a little bit higher place in this because it takes everything into consideration, and spirituality is a very big part of Ayurveda. Philosophy is there, the Vedic philosophy, the yogic philosophy. So it's not separate from Ayurveda. And the whole goal of Ayurveda is to gain health. And what's the purpose of gaining health is to fulfill your spiritual goals. Right. So if you want to fulfill your spiritual goal, which is the ultimate goal of human existence, and for that you need to have a good health. And that health will come with the knowledge of Ayurveda, because Ayurveda gives you or empower you with knowledge to take care of your health. So when we are not in sync with our life, where we feel a little bit misplaced, that means if you have this knowledge of Ayurveda about life, then you can actually take care of it. So that's the beauty of Ayurveda. Yeah. And it also is very, very integrative. I think that the integrative medicine and health, which this podcast is driven from.
Yeah.
It's all this. It's taking the life, the health, the sickness is taking care of a different the food, the philosophy, the body, the mind, the soul, the psychology of the patient, and also movement, right? Because yoga is a part of Ayurveda. Could you say so?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both are Ayurveda and yoga are sister science, and it's incomplete without each other. So you just can't lead a yogic life without the knowledge of Ayurveda, and it's not enough to have the Ayurvedic knowledge without the yogic philosophy. So these both sciences are very much interrelated, and yoga will teach you, how to reach the mental goal, and Ayurveda will help you with the physical health.
And meditation? Is that also one?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about yoga, meditation is one of the what you call the limbs of yoga, and that is again very integral to even Ayurveda. So definitely, because when you think about Ayurveda textbook, the most important textbook, Ashtanga Hridaya, in the first word starts with raga, and raga means attachment. And it says attachment is the biggest cause of all imbalances and is the primary cause. From there arises restlessness, worry, anxiety, and which can again lead to physical imbalances. So somewhere Ayurveda is trying to say that imbalances starts at the subconscious level, and later it shows, the physical manifestation comes much later. So already the problem started at the subconscious level of the mind. Of course you can take away, because Ayurveda also believes, it's very scientific, it also says that the diseases can be caused by, it can be hereditary diseases, because we call it bija dosha. Bija means seeds. Seed is like sperm and ovum. So there are genetic diseases where Ayurveda mentions about that. But most of the cases, the imbalances start in the subconscious level of the mind. So here, Ayurveda is talking about the importance of mind,
Yeah, right.
So attachment. So that is one of the biggest causes of sufferings.
And attachment, as in attachment in your knowledge now, it's more than the Swedish knowledge about attachment theory, right? Is it, or is it, I think it's including so much more.
So, attachment theory in Swedish knowledge, do you mean by materialistic attachment, or
between a mother and a child?
Yes, it's that also.
Yeah.
Of course, that's there. We have different roles in life. Like when you are born, once your ego gets, more rooted in you, you become aware of everything around you, and there comes the differentiation between you and others, right? And then you will have attachment to things that you like, and you have an aversion to things that you don't like. So wherever you like, for example, you as a being, a spiritual being, take different roles in life. Now you are a mother, you are a wife, you are a sister, or you can be a different relation, can be at the workplace. So you have a different role. So all these roles are there, which is important to you. But if the attachment to one of these roles exceed, when it becomes more than normal, that's when the suffering starts. Roles are important, but the moment you identify with that role and you forget yourself, you give too much importance to it and you get too attached to it, that's when the suffering starts. Because then you no longer enjoy that role.
Right.
Because the more attachment you becomes, then you don't enjoy that role, because you lose yourself in that role.
And you have left yourself for someone else.
Exactly.
And then
so you gave away everything.
Yeah.
And playing that role. So that can be the cause. And it can express out in different ways. Then you become attached to food, then comes the addiction, and you can't let go certain things in life. So all these can lead to disease. Right. Which it doesn't show up at that point in your life. But these are like, in the longer run.
Something has happened over time.
Over time.
So, yeah.
It takes time. So that's what Ayurveda means by attachment is the biggest cause. And in the Vedic knowledge, in yoga philosophy also is the same thing, that attachment is the biggest cause of suffering. So mind, of course, we have to take that into consideration when you talk about life. And then it also, Ayurveda mentions specifically senses. And that too, in the Ayurvedic textbooks, it's mentioned one of the causes of disease is overuse or misuse or underuse of your senses. So when we misuse our senses, and that's what happens today the most, where most of the issues start because we are misusing our senses or overusing. You see, we live in this age of, constant sensual gratification, and bombardment of information. So information overload is there. And the sensual gratification. And you see nowadays with all these Snapchats and Insta Reels and everything, our concentration spans are decreasing even more and more. So the sensual gratification that you get is also very temporary.
Yeah.
And that also is one of the cause of disease. Because what happens is that our mind is constantly, distracted because it's moving outward towards all these distractions around us. And when the mind is following the senses is following all the distractions around us, what happens is your prana also is following the mind.
And prana, we can say, is life force.
Exactly. So prana is the life force. In Swedish, we say livskraft. So what happens is this, when prana is following the mind is following the senses, so you lose prana every day. So when you start your day and you are on the phone directly, and then you see when you go to work, your constant meetings there, you're on the phone constantly. So there is so much happening around us. And we don't get enough time to just pause and breathe and take the mind inward. When the senses are closed, your mind turns inward. That's when the prana turns inward. And this prana is the life-giving force. So it has to be. When you are doing yoga, that's when you are taking a break. When you are on the yoga mat, you are taking a break. You breathe. Consciously breathe. That's when you become aware of of your body, of the sensations in the body. If there is any imbalances, that's when you get aware of. But otherwise, every day we live our life without awareness because the mind is outward, is following the senses, and the prana also is flowing out. And we live a life with very least awareness. So it's very important, like when we live consciously our life, that's when we consciously breathe, we consciously take in information from around us, consciously take in sensory impressions, and then we can actually live our life very consciously. And that will feed our prana.
Right.
And nourish our prana.
Yeah.
So that means when you're eating food, you are very conscious. You're aware of what you're eating. Is it good for me or is it not good for me? You become aware of it. Because based upon our previous experiences, we know what food is good for us and what is not good for us. And when we are aware of it, when you eat with awareness, that will definitely feed your prana. So that's what all about this. I mean, of course, yoga, that's what I wanted to say is very integral here, is yoga and Ayurveda. Living our life consciously is because Ayurveda is consciousness-based medicine.
Yeah.
So that is what we have to think about.
And that is a very, very good explanation to all these outburn syndromes what we see here in the world, actually, where we are doing so much things. We are on our iPhones, iPads, skärmar, all the time, from where we start the day until we finish the day. And someone also have it during the nights. So and where then we're just leaking prana all the time, life force.
Exactly.
And it causes stress. Yeah. So if I just continue from there, that you were finished then with your panchakarma in 1995. And since then you have been practicing and teaching Ayurveda in different Ayurveda hospitals and education institutions in India. And then you come with your husband to Sweden. Tell me, how did that actually...
when we moved to Sweden, before moving to Sweden, I was practicing in Nagpur, which is very close to Bombay, and I had my clinic there. And but as my husband works with IT, he used to travel a lot, and that's when he came with an assignment to Sweden. And initially, I didn't move with him because I was not so sure how long he's going to stay here. And that was around, I think, 24 years back.
24 years back.
Yes. So it's really a long time now. So anyway, we moved here, and I had my daughter in India. She was born there. So she was 2 when we moved to Sweden. And I was still had my clinic in India. I didn't close it. One of my friends was taking care of that center. And in Sweden, I wanted to start with Ayurveda once I realized that my husband is going to stay here for a really long time. But the problem was the language. And it's always, it's important when you connect with your client, you should speak or understand their culture and before you start working with anything about life. So if I want to understand my clients, their lifestyle, what kind of stress they are having here, what are their main issues with health, and what they eat, how is their, lives, the food culture and everything. For that, it's important to know the local culture and most importantly, the language. So it took me a few years before I really started practicing Ayurveda. I had to learn the language. Actually, I'm good. Right? Today, I can say that I'm not so bad in Swedish. I can really communicate well with my clients. I know the language of pain. And to talk about pain, it has to be in their mother tongue. So today I can connect that way.
You actually are very good in Swedish.
Yeah.
But we decided to have this conversation in English because when you're going to learn us about Ayurveda, it's more close to you to speak in English,
it can come a little bit. Even though English is not my mother tongue, but still, I've been speaking in English really long, so probably it will be easier for me. So that's how I started practicing here. I had my company, which I founded. It's called Rasayana Wellness. And Rasayana itself means a little bit like anti-aging or nourishing, or, it's about positive health.
And that's what you have that on your door when you enter. It's like Ayurveda medicine, the art of positive health.
Exactly. Right. And that's what Ayurveda, that's what Rasayana stands for also. So that's how I started my clinic in Söder and Skanstull.
We can say that you are here in Stockholm, in Skanstull, on Ringvägen. There's where you have your reception.
Exactly.
Your center.
Yeah. So it was not an easy journey, I must say, because 22 years back, Ayurveda was not that popular in Sweden. Thanks to Vedalila, Johan, and Peter Ljungsberg, they already have established Ayurveda already in 1982. But still, the awareness was not as much even when I moved to Sweden compared to today. And first time my experience in Sweden was when I went to some place, I think it was Ericsson's. Some of the people there surrounded me, and then when they came to know that I'm an Ayurvedic doctor, so they said, I know Ayurveda. I know I am a Vata person. Someone said that I'm Pitta and Kapha. So I got a little bit surprised when they said that. And also I got surprised when I saw in different shops, there were like teas, Vata tea, Pitta tea, Kapha tea, Today it's very common. Now you can also find these in India. So it's a different marketing strategy, I think. And I felt like the conversation about Ayurveda was mostly around these body types.
Yeah.
And somehow I feel like that doesn't make Ayurveda too serious science. Because it could be like, you label it. What Ayurveda is, it's about massage. You can get good massage. Or is it, you can go to some Ayurveda practitioner and you will come to know what your body type is. So that I thought to be a little bit superficial. So I really wanted to change those kind of conversation. Should not be mostly around the types.
Right.
And
maybe we can take that in this conversation now, but and tell the listeners, what is Ayurveda? What is all these body types and so on? Could you just wrap it up?
I mean, the thing is, it's not just about body type. Of course, it's a part of Ayurveda is to know what elements you have mostly in you. So the more than the doshas, we call dosha, vata, pitta, kapha, which most of the listeners will identify when it comes to Ayurveda is these doshas, vata, pitta, kapha. They are just energies, or you can say elements. And elements are important. Ayurveda acharyas, the teachers of Ayurveda from this, 5,000 years back, they said that one has to have the knowledge about elements to become a good Ayurveda practitioner. So 5 elements are there, which constitute everything in this planet. So these elements are present in everything around us, in every food that we eat. Every taste has these 5 elements, and we are made up of these 5 elements. And now what are these elements? It's space, air, fire, water, and earth. And what's important about these elements are the qualities. And the elements put together makes up vata, pitta, kapha. These are 3 energies, which in Sanskrit is called doshas. And doshas actually means something wrong. Fail. It's a fault. So why it's named doshas? These doshas are the functional unit of our body. And you can't see them. It's just energies. But it's called doshas. That means which is wrong. Because it has the capacity to create imbalance in the body. So when they are balanced, these 3 energies, that means we experience health and well-being. When there is any problem in these doshas, and what does that mean that it has a problem? First, we need to understand what is vata. So vata, which is air and space, these are just qualities of those elements. So air is light. It's cold, it's dry, it's mobile, it's irregular, it's very subtle. So these are the qualities that makes vata. So vata is nothing but the union of these qualities. Now, if there is something wrong with vata, what does that mean? There is an imbalance. And what does this imbalance mean? One or more of these qualities has increased. So it could be that the light quality of vata is increased. That's when you get, you can lose weight, you feel light in the body and mind in a positive sense. But if it is, you have these qualities increased a lot in excess, that means now you will not feel light in the body and mind. Instead, you will feel very restless in the body. You may lose weight. You will feel a lot of anxiety because anxiousness is light by quality. That's why when you get anxious, you feel your breath. So the energy is moving out upward. That's when you feel like anxiety, panic, angst, everything you're feeling it in your heart, chest area. So these are light energies. So lightness has increased more than it's supposed to be. So that means imbalance. And maybe dryness increased. Then how will this dryness express in your body as imbalance? Is you get constipated, you have dry skin and dry hair, you can have brittle nails. That means there is an imbalance.
Right.
So vata imbalance doesn't mean that all the qualities that's there in the vata has got imbalanced. Maybe one quality or 2.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to focus on, these qualities of the elements, which makes the doshas.
So if I say that I'm a vata person, I have an imbalance in vata.
It doesn't have to be. Like if you say you are a vata person, maybe you identify most of the qualities of the vata, that is light, dry, mobile qualities. But if these qualities increases, that's when you as a vata person may experience vata imbalance even more, because there's more chances that you will have more vata imbalance because you already have these qualities a little bit in excess. That makes you identify as a Vata person. But there are more chances because you have more of these qualities, this can increase even more.
Right.
Because if as a Vata person, you identify yourself as a very light body weight and you are a person who is all the time on the move, you talk a lot, you move a lot, you are very fast, it can be very normal to you as a Vata person. But where does the problem comes when it increases even more?
Yeah.
So now this light quality, restless becomes restlessness. That can affect your sleep. Then you will have light sleep. So that's when you have to notice.
And as a Ayurvedic doctor, when you first meet the patient, what do you do?
Yeah. There, I would also would like to add, there was a difference when I was practicing in India, when I moved to Sweden. Because it's also important, because this is about life. This is the Ayurveda's uniqueness is its individualized approach to health. Every individual is unique.
You don't work by guidelines.
Exactly.
But can you say that you have kind of guidelines during the doshas and so on that you have, or kind of guidelines knowledge?
Yeah, of course. There are certain things. But again, every consultation can look completely different.
Yeah. So it's very individual.
Very much. And while I was practicing in India, my approach was more therapeutic because most of the things, people know by culture, what they learn. And for example, simple thing like, yogurt you should not eat in the evening. This is very common knowledge, most of...
in India.
In India. Yeah, because it's not supposed to. They got this knowledge from their ancestors. Maybe some people don't know why they are not supposed to eat.
But still, they don't do it.
Yeah, they accept that fact that this knowledge comes from the ancestors. So you accept it. There's not much questioning around that. Some people just follow it. So these are certain things are very rooted in the culture. So what happens is when people come to me there in India, it becomes like, okay, you have this issue, this health issue, how you try to, treat it. You give some medicines to them and give some advice around the food and everything. But here what I noticed is, which I really like it, people are very conscious about health. And when they are seeking help, they come to me. Like most of them, 80% would like to know more about Ayurveda, know more about themselves, and want to know what food suits them, what lifestyle suits them, according to their bone constitution. And and which is really good. I give advice based on that. It again depends upon the individual need, why they are there. In some cases, I feel like there is more issue in the mind, and the physical, suffering is not that much. Maybe the cause is coming from the mental issues. So I give advice accordingly. And so many clients who come to me, they might be having a lot of issues with, sleep, stress-related, PTSD, post-traumatic stress. And could be many who have already been very, utmatning, burned out. And many who have issues with their digestion, stomach issues are there, menstrual issues. Many women come with these issues and menopause issues. So now I get more and more of people coming with specific health concern, and but there are some who are very, focused on what type they are. So I try to educate them. So approach here is becoming more educational, showing them the right way, what is good for them, how they should lead their life. And of course, the best judge is themselves, every individual. They know they are the best guide. I'm just a little bit like a guide, telling them and what suits them, what is good for them. Because, in the initial stages, there are many imbalances that we can take care of ourselves with a little bit knowledge of Ayurveda. It's making some adjustment with food and lifestyle and sleep, and creating a good rituals around their daily life. That is more important. Routine is more important. And you know, when you have good routine, that itself is a good foundation for good health. So that I give a little bit stress on that.
Okay. Wow. and when I'm listening to you, I have met you in a lot of different situations. I have come to you as a patient. I have listened to you during education at Yoga Yama, the teacher training, and so on and so forth. So it's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I know that it's so much more about this, but today it's an introduction to Ayurveda. So you came here from India after 2 years, because I know that you said before this podcast started, you have been here in Sweden for 22 years now.
Yes.
And you said 24. So your husband were here for 2 years before you came, after him.
He was here for about 2 years. I used to just visit him. And then when my daughter turned 6, that's when because she started the schooling here. Yeah. That's when I started living here permanently.
So how was that? To come here to Sweden and start just that kind of a personal matter?
I mean, it's been a real roller coaster ride. And the weather was shocking, because I remember once I met a German lady in India when I was in Kattakkal, and she was taking sun bath, and I was like wondering what she's doing in the sun. And I used to walk with umbrella, like trying to,
not be in the direct sun.
Exactly. And she was like, and then she said, "Oh, we don't have sun at all." But I didn't realize till I came here, what does that mean? And the cold winter. And I will give you one interesting example here. Because if the listeners know about Ayurveda, they know a part of Ayurveda daily routine is massage, applying oil on your body and head, which is always good for your health. And this I used to do every day in India, applying, especially on my head. I used to apply coconut oil every single day. And when I came here...
but I guess so interesting. You just massage the coconut in?
Yes.
Or do you have something on, kind of?
You just massage in.
In
so
your
you
head.
Apply oil on the head, on your scalp, and then you massage in the scalp. A little bit also apply on the hair, which is really good to do every day. It's very cooling for the body and mind, and especially if you are working a lot in front of computers and you are... little extra pitta qualities if you have too much heat in you. It's really cooling and cooling for your senses. And good for your hair also. So I was, when I was here, I went to pick my daughter I was dropping her to the doggies. And we used to live in Solna, and she used to go in Ulriksdal, the daycare. So I applied oil on my hair, and I thought I will just drop her and come back. I will have to just take a train, Pendeltåg. We live very close by to the station. So it's just the next stop. So I applied oil. So while coming back, I was standing in the train. Suddenly my hand went over my head. I felt like my hairs were like dry and like a stick. First I got a shock. What happened to my hair? I was looking left and right. I was just thinking someone is noticing me or not. That's when I realized it's my coconut oil. It got frozen.
Right.
So that was my lesson.
You're in a totally different country now with a totally different temperature.
So what I mean to tell is Ayurveda routine is important, but we have to adjust according to the place where we live.
The environment.
And so that's, so since then I never apply coconut oil and go out in the cold. So.
You stay home and do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even you can apply sesame oil instead of coconut oil. And if you are very sensitive to cold. So it's been a very good experience here, and meeting wonderful people during my practice. And then somewhere down the road, I started my education, giving the people an opportunity to understand Ayurveda more in depth. And
so you educate, you didn't go into an education. You educate people in Ayurveda.
So I educate people in Ayurveda. It's a 1-year lifestyle program. And that gives us a little more tools to take care of ourselves. And that has been a very incredible journey.
Do you still have it?
I still have it. I love teaching. And every time I go to the class, I get goosebumps. And I think that I have the world's best job.
Yeah. You have the education on Rasayana.
Rasayana, yes. And it's in Skanstull. And about education, you can actually look on to the rasayana.sc, my website. And the next one is starting in November. And it's a 1-year program. November to November.
And then you also go with you to Kerala.
So all the students have an opportunity to go to Kerala and do more practical studies there for a month. So,
wow.
And that my students really enjoy that part of the education.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it has been a long time here in Sweden. 22
It has
years.
been, and certain things which I feel more challenging is the food, and because Ayurveda stresses a lot about eating fresh food, cooking your food, and the lifestyle, the winter, short days, all of them makes a bit challenging to lead Ayurvedic lifestyle. So, but it's not impossible.
No, and you're going to Kerala.
Yeah, I go often to Kerala, and because all my family stay there, I go on personal visit. I also take my students sometime. Every year we also have this health tours, panchakarma tour to India, to Kerala. So that's what I do.
So I just want to ask you, Sangeeta, is there anything else that we haven't talked about during this conversation that is important for the people that is interesting in Ayurveda, for kind of during the introduction to Ayurveda?
Yeah, I feel like if the listeners want to have an Ayurvedic lifestyle, want to know more about Ayurveda, it's we need to really focus on the food part. And food is really important. What food is good for you is all depends upon what kind of body type or maybe digestion you have. Because we all have different digestion. It doesn't matter, like, for example, you identify yourself like a Vata person, but maybe your digestion works more like a Pitta. And so based on your digestion, you need to choose your food and also the weather. So we can't eat the same breakfast, for example, all year round. If you're having muesli with yogurt in the summer, you need to change that when you come to the autumn and the winter. So we need to change our food, more warm food, cooked meals in the autumn, heavy meals, because that is the Vata season. So we not just focus on your individual type, your digestion, but also which season is you are in. If it is a Vata season, which is mostly autumn, late autumn, early winter is the Vata time. And that is the time you can go for more heavy and warm meals, And then we come into the Kapha season, which is the spring and late winter, where you can eat more light food. We are not hungry as we are in the autumn. You will feel less hunger in the spring. So we have to eat less, but still warm. Then we come into the summer, which is the Pitta time. There you can eat cold. And cold doesn't mean that you should have ice cold food or, too much of ice creams. If your digestion is compromised, you feel like, it's not so strong, then all year round you need to eat warm food, light food, to make the digestion work better.
Right.
So most of us, most of the clients come to me are very much confused about the food. What to eat, what not to eat. Then they get stressed. Is this the food that I have to eat all my life? But what is important is, there should be moderation. Don't do anything in excess. Ayurveda doesn't say completely that this food is avoid completely. If you have any kind of disease or, which you have a diagnosis, then probably you will have to follow or a particular diet all your life. But you don't have a specific diagnosis, then you need to focus on how your digestion is.
Yeah.
And if your digestion is really strong, you have a good digestive fire. And what does that mean that you have a good digestive fire? That means you have enough appetite, you ate your meal. After you had it, you feel very satisfied and content. It should not create any kind of cravings. And you should have very good bowel movement every day. You should.
Bowel movement
is like going to the toilet.
Yeah.
And that should be
kind of like a routine.
And it should happen every day.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes have clients who say that I never used to go to toilet like for a week. And she thought it's normal. So that is something like, every day you should have good bowel movement. Elimination is important. So that means a good elimination of stool, urine, and sweat.
Yeah.
These are the 3 important waste.
Urine, stool, and sweat.
So good elimination, a good digestion, that means a good appetite. Here, I would want to add many clients, when I ask them, how is their appetite? Some people say, because they're not so happy if they have very good appetite because they don't want to put on weight, which is actually wrong. If you have a good appetite, it's actually healthy. That's a sign of health. So, of course, you should not have excess. You had a big meal and then immediately you feel hungry. That is wrong also. So, a good appetite where you feel content after you had your food and it will not create any type of craving.
No. And for how long is the ordinary, if I feel content for 2 hours or something? Or,
content means, now you're satisfied, you had a good meal. You're not going and looking for some chocolate or fruit or anything after your meal. So that is wrong.
Yeah.
And of course, the next meal will depend upon how your digestion is.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is excess, that means something is wrong. Your fire is like too strong. And for that also we need to give some herbs or food to balance the fire, digestive fire. So digestive fire is central to health. And that is what we treat in Ayurveda. Or not just digestive fire, fire of the mind also. Yeah. So that is very central. When we are treating, what we are doing is we are trying to fix the problem of the fire, both in the mind and the body. And that's why food is very important, what you are taking in. And that is also, food is external to you, what you are taking in, because food makes you who you are. And makes your mind also who you are. So it's really important what kind of food you are taking. If you're very angry and you're very frustrated and you are having very lot of spicy and oily food with a glass of wine, this is exactly wrong what you're doing.
It's going to increase this element of fire during the body.
Exactly. So that means you are again creating more problem to you. So what we need to do is, if you're feeling cold, you need to eat warm. So many people complain about they're freezing, but their breakfast is yogurt and muesli.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense. Many people complain about, I have a lot of gas in my stomach. It's very bloated and it makes sound. But they are drinking 5 glasses of bubble water or lesk, aerated drinks.
Right.
And so when you become aware of it, then doesn't matter what type you are. You have to listen how your digestion is working. Yeah. That is more important. So, I am a pitta type. I can drink all type of cold food, cold drinks, which is wrong.
No.
You have to see how your digestion is. So, food should be around that. And many people, when they think about, get confused about food, is because so much information is there out on the
different
internet.
Diets and different things, and now you should eat this, and now you should don't eat that, and so on and so forth. So
exactly, and about fasting, there's so lot of information there, and many people even ask me, "Is there what Ayurveda thinks about fasting?"
Yeah, what does Ayurveda think about fasting?
and actually, there is nothing called the word fasting. We call it langana. Langana means light. So a treatment that will produce lightness in the body and mind is langana. And what can produce lightness in the body and mind? It's not about just food. Of course, there are food that can produce lightness, but also it's exercise. Not overly doing, but some kind of activity that can produce lightness in the body and mind, right? Yeah. Or maybe some people are doing day sleep or oversleep that can, create more heaviness. So that also you have to take into consideration how much you're sleeping and how much activity you are doing. And then the food. You want to have some break with the food or maybe eat something light. If you are already, consuming a lot of heavy food, that means you can avoid those food. And that itself is like a fasting, langana.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Or you're already, eating light food, then maybe you need some fasting. And when this langana comes into picture is when you're feeling heavy in the body and mind. You feel a little bit swollen, you feel a little bit stagnated. Your circulation is not so good, it may be stagnant. That's when you feel like you should do some langana. Or maybe you're not having good appetite, you're not so hungry. And you wake up in the morning, you feel very tired, heavy, and swollen in the body. You feel your tongue is coated. So if you have a white coating on the tongue, that also shows like your digestion is weak, is not working. And that is the time to do langana.
Langana.
And langana. No, based on your situation.
Yeah.
Your work situation, your what you're cooking at home. Based on that, your langana can look different. Maybe you skip your breakfast and have your lunch.
And langana was fasting in another
sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be, instead of eating yogurt, which is heavy, I can go with something light. That is langana.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to eat at all. I skip my breakfast. That is langana.
Ah, okay, right.
Right? So that is what it is. It can suit everyone.
Yeah.
People who can't fast, they can't stay hungry. You can still do some langana.
Yeah.
Drink some ginger tea. That will lighten your body. It will stoke your fire. That is also langana.
Yeah.
On your digestive fire.
Okay.
Something light on the fire.
Right.
Instead of having yogurt.
Okay.
So that's how we need to think about food. Means it should be around your digestive strength.
Yeah.
Become aware of your digestive strength and see, are you hungry or not? Eat only when you're hungry. That is most important. Some people ask me, how much should I eat? I can't tell them how much you should eat. You should understand how much is your appetite, how is your digestion. And the good sign is looking at your appetite, looking how your bowel movement is in the morning. Look at your tongue. Is it not very coated? That is a good sign.
Yeah.
So we can choose langana as per your, convenience and what suits you best.
Yeah.
It could be intermittent fasting. That means you avoid food, avoid eating around the kapha time of the day. And that is morning 6 to 10 and after 6 in the evening. So you can eat between 10 to 6.
And that is what you said in India, the traditional, the from the culture, that you shouldn't eat about kapha time. Is it so?
Yes.
Not eating on night.
As early as possible, we should have our dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So avoiding the kapha time
so
in the
why
evening.
is that general advice, kind of?
Because this is the clock that works. This is how the clock works, the biological, the circadian rhythm. So we need to, move or function with our environment, and which is for everyone.
Right. Right. So interesting. And before this podcast, when we met in another situation, when I came to you as a patient, we were talking about what is anti-aging.
Yeah.
It is all about your digestion, you said. You have to have a good digestion that is anti-aging.
Yeah, because if you have good digestion means you have good fire. And the fire itself gives you good complexion. And good skin if you have good fire.
Okay.
So, and also that means that what you're putting in your mind, because fire is that which transforms everything.
Yeah.
Whatever you take in, it could be the food or it could be the sensory input. Fire will digest it and transform it into energy.
Right.
Food into energy, knowledge, information into knowledge. So if you have good fire, you're transforming and processing it good. You are eliminating the toxins good. And that is the best anti-aging.
Yeah, right. You said that to me. And yeah, I wanted to say that, but maybe I put myself out. But if you have an imbalance in vata, or imbalance in pitta or in kapha, you can usually I have 2. But last time I had 3.
Imbalances?
Yeah.
Imbalances can change.
Yeah.
Maybe if there had been imbalance for a very long time, maybe more than one dosha is involved. Sometimes 2 doshas are involved, but most of the time Vata is behind the imbalance because it is the energy that moves. Pitta Kapha cannot. So if the imbalances manifest, that means Vata always is behind it because it is the one which is driving the Pitta and Kapha to create and manifest the imbalance to show up in different parts of the body or organs. So Vata generally is there. And also we need to see which quality of the element is increased. And we need to reverse that imbalance before it manifests as a disease.
Right.
So,
but the good thing about that, what I have learned, especially during the education in Yogayama to become a teacher trainer with you, is that Vata is, if it's manifest in disease, it can happen quickly and it can be in a lot of different ways in the body, but it can also vanish quickly with the right. But if you have a disease driven by kapha, it can be much harder to. So
because kapha is slow to manifest or show up, and it takes time also because it is slow by nature, and vata is
quick,
fast. So most of the time vata imbalances are also many. Compared to kapha imbalances, and you can bounce back if it has not become chronic. So
so interesting, and this was introduction to Ayurveda. And if someone who is listening to this, they can come to you. They can find you on your website,
Rasayana.
Rasayana.sc.
And or maybe if they just Google Sangeeta Balaprakash, they will find me. And I'm on Instagram also. It's Rasayana_Ayurveda.
Good. Because if you are getting interesting about this and want to know what you have imbalances in, if it's Vata, Kapha or Pitta, you can go to you, Dr. Sangeeta.
Yes.
So, Dr. Sangeeta, I'm so happy and honored to having you here as a guest, and that you have spread your knowledge and gave me some of your time.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Både och istället för antingen eller, en podd om integrativ medicin och hälsa är skapad och drivs av Svensk förening för integrativ medicin och hälsa, FIM. FIM är ursprungligen en yrkesförening och för legitimerad vårdpersonal. Vi representerar sjuksköterskor, dietister, fysioterapeuter, läkare, psykoterapeuter, psykologer, tandläkare för att nämna några. Idag omfattas våra medlemmar även av associerade medlemmar som inte behöver vara legitimerade. Föreningens arbete vilar mot en vetenskaplig grund för integrativ medicin och hälsa, såväl svensk som internationell, och på systemisk förståelse för människan i sin miljö. Föreningens arbetssätt har hittills varit att arrangera konferenser, seminarier och folkbilda genom att sprida information exempelvis via sociala medier. Vår strävan inom integrativ medicin och hälsa är att vara en organisation som vågar lyfta och ifrågasätta, motverka polariseringar genom tvärvetenskapliga dialoger och sokratiska samtalsregler. Vi vill kartlägga forskning som bedrivs även internationellt och hålla koll på forskningsresultat om behandlingsmetoder, både vad det gäller den etablerade vården liksom den vård som bedrivs utanför den etablerade vården. Sokratiska samtalsregler innefattas i den sokratiska samtalsformen som egentligen all grundläggande kunskap är sprungen ur, men som ibland till och med lyser med sin frånvaro inom public service. Så bli gärna medlem hos oss, för tillsammans kan vi förändra. Och hur du blir medlem hittar du via vår hemsida integrativ-medicin.se. Vi ses och hörs i nästa avsnitt.